Okay, this video is obviously about the Chicago Bulls, but I real quick wanted to open with a quick rant about some of the very stupid comments that I was getting on the video that I uploaded yesterday about Stephen Curry. In that video, I talked about Steph's cold streak, ended the video saying he was going to be fine, and then like a quarter of the comment section is saying that I was overreacting when I literally didn't have a take that suggested this would even matter. Reacting isn't overreacting. Acknowledging reality is not having a take. I acknowledge that Curry has had a bad streak of games. That is a factual statement. And yet acknowledging that got me being called a Curry hater. Do you see the jersey? He's my second favorite player of all time. Are you kidding me? I have heard before that Steph Curry fans are sensitive and annoying. That was never my experience, but as it turns out, it's just because I've never been in their crosshairs. That is some of the most ridiculous shit that I've ever seen, and it was driving me up the wall. The whole video, I talked about what happened, and then I said, he'll be fine. What a hater! Are you kidding me? What a Curry hater, man. Shut the fuck up. All right, let's talk about the Bulls. The comment section pissed me off, but something that surprisingly has not pissed me off this year has been the Chicago Bulls, who, in my entire time doing this as my job, have been a really bad team. Not just really bad, but really, really bad. And now, not only are they not bad, but they're not even just good. They are very good. The Bulls currently have the 5th best record in the league, and they're on pace to win 54 games. And this is after a fantastic offseason that I was under the impression was pretty obviously what I called it, fantastic. But as it turns out, some people had different opinions. So in today's video, I wanted to go back and look at some of the doubters that the Bulls had going into this offseason and laugh at them. So let's do it. Before I continue on with this video, about half of the people who watch these videos are not subscribed, so if you fall in the 50%, then please subscribe. I am trying to hit 200,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I am coming really close to it, so if you could hit that subscription button so that I could hit that goal, I'd really appreciate it. Also drop a like, it only takes 1 second and it makes a massive difference. And if you haven't already, go check out my review of Spider-Man Far From Home. That will be linked in the description, pinned comment, card above, all that. So first, let's take a look at the most egregious take of this offseason from Tim Bontemps. Is that how you say it? I don't know. I actually reacted to this take in the offseason on my second channel. However, I wanted to take a look at it now in the current context because that was before the season started, and of course, do it on this channel. So here's the clip.
The Bulls have gone all in on 2 sub-all-star 30-year-old guys in Nick Vucevic and Demar Derozan to try to keep a guy in Zach LaVine who has never been on a winning team and now is going to be a free agent in a year and could leave. And I think there's a real chance the Bulls don't even make the play-in tournament. You know, when you talk about this depth in the Eastern Conference, I think they could finish 11th or 12th very easily. They're going to have a terrible defense. And you look at the way this team is built, like, yes, those guys are durable, but I do not see them having any kind of high ceiling. And now they can't trade a draft pick until what, 2030, 2040? I mean, they've just put themselves in a box for what? For no high ceiling at all. Like Nick said, it's baffling after all the painstaking rebuild they went to not keep Jimmy Butler, who is, by the way, better than all of these guys they have. It's just really strange what the Bulls have set themselves up with here.
Okay, first of all, they're going to have a terrible defense. This was a narrative that really confused me when I saw it initially, until I realized that none of these fucking people actually watch Bulls basketball, which is relatively fair because they suck. There are a couple of teams that I only watch a couple games a year because they really suck and I just have no interest in watching them. But if you have that relationship with the team, don't comment on them without knowing it, or at the very least, do the most baseline research of clicking on the team stats and seeing that they are 11th in defensive rating. The narrative that the Bulls were going to have a bad defense was one that I fought for the entire offseason, and I knew was going to be a take that aged well. I knew that I was going to be right about this, because as I mentioned, the Bulls last year were 11th in defensive rating, and they were just as good with Nikola Vucevic as they were with Wendell Carter Jr. Then we go into the offseason where the Bulls lose one good defender in Thaddeus Young, and then add to the roster Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, and Derrick Jones Jr., all very well known for great defense, on top of the fact that this team is coached by Billy Donovan, who has a track record for coaching good defenses. And what do you know, the Chicago Bulls are 10th in defensive rating. Saying that the Bulls were going to be a bad defense was a very blatant exposing to me that you don't actually know the team whatsoever. Which again, I don't expect you to know a lot about the Bulls, but don't comment if you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And then as for the argument that the team would not even make the play-in tournament, that was a ridiculous thing to say at the time, and now they are the 2nd seed in the Eastern Conference, so eat a dick, I guess. I really don't know why someone would think that a team with 3 players capable of averaging 25 plus points as they have in their careers with Zach, Demar, and Vucevic, why that team plus a couple of other good players was going to be a 11th seed in the Eastern Conference? Are you out of your fucking mind? That's absolutely foolish. But now let's talk about Stephen A. Smith, who in his case, his take's not as egregious, but there's some dumb shit here. Here's the clip.
I got 2 issues with Chicago.
Talk to me.
DeRozan and LaVine, can they play together? Because individually, they're big time. My issue is they're the same. And so when I look at them and I say, okay, can they do it? Neither is really a 3, even though you could play small ball in the NBA now, but neither is really a 3. They're both legitimately 2s. And although their game is somewhat different at the same time, can they play together? I need to see it to believe it.
Okay.
Number 2.
I'm listening.
Where's the depth? You gonna give me Alex Caruso? Is that what you gonna give me? No, they ain't gonna cut it.
Okay.
They ain't gonna cut it. When we look at the Chicago Bulls, we're thinking about DeRozan, LaVine, Vucevic, and Lonzo Ball. That's what we're looking at. Everything else is a question mark. Are they gonna make the playoffs? I believe so. Are they going home in the first round? You're damn right they are.
DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine are not going to work together. They're both legitimately 2s. Hey, guess what? Positions don't matter, like, at fucking all. Outside of having a big man, you can just kind of run 4 wings out there, and you can usually run 5 wings out there if you want, or a bunch of guards and a couple of wings. It doesn't matter what position players play, really. Hell, DeMar DeRozan, when he was in San Antonio, played, I believe, a majority of his minutes at power forward, so it clearly doesn't fucking matter. Alex Caruso has started at power forward for the Bulls multiple games this year. We live in an era where basketball is really not all that beholden to positions. Catch up with the times. Also, to call them the same, with Stephen A's weird cadence, but ultimately a one that's very attention-grabbing, so I'll give him credit for that. To call them the same is foolish. They have some overlaps in their ability, but to say they're the same is ridiculous. DeMar DeRozan is primarily a slasher and mid-range scorer, as well as a great playmaker. Meanwhile, Zach is a billion times better as an outside shooter and is one of the best 3-point shooters both off the dribble and on the catch in the league. He also is about the drive, but because of his outside shot, he is a significantly better off-ball player. And while they have some overlap in the fact that they like to dribble the ball, they like to drive to the rim, and they both like to take mid-range shots, even though DeMar is significantly better at them, to act as though that they were just going to cancel each other out, and because they couldn't play off of each other flawlessly, it meant that it wasn't going to work, was stupid. It's the same shit with people with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. When they act like because they don't complement each other's games all that much, you might as well trade one of them. When no, having 2 all-star level talents is better than having one, regardless of how those talents play off of each other, unless they come to a serious detriment of each other, which is not the case with Jaylen and Jason, and not the case with DeMar and Zach. They might not complement each other flawlessly, but they do not really get in each other's way either. Then for the depth thing, Stephen A. Smith scoffs at Alex Caruso. Alex Caruso would be one of the leading candidates for 6th Man of the Year if that award wasn't just about who could average the most points per game. That's a stupid take, and it shows that you didn't really know much about Alex Caruso, because Alex Caruso was a really fucking good role player when he was with the Lakers too. This is another thing that I was defending the whole offseason. Alex Caruso is more than a meme. Alex Caruso is a very, very good player, and he has proven that with the Chicago Bulls, where he has probably been better than Nikola Vucevic this year, as sad as that is to say. So Alex Caruso, as your best bench player, is pretty damn good, not something to scoff at. Then after that, the Bulls had a ton of defensive wings, and you just had to guess that one of them would break out, and as it turns out, 2 of them did, both Javonte Green and Derrick Jones Jr. But even with that said, I'm going to say something that I have said before a dozen times, and I'll say again here. Depth is extremely overrated. By comparison, in this segment, Stephen A. Smith is talking about the Bulls versus the Knicks versus the Celtics. Who would be better? The Knicks have some of the best depth in basketball. They have like the best bench unit in the NBA, at least one of them. The Knicks fucking suck. People seriously need to stop acting like the 8th or 9th man on a roster is going to be the determining factor in a team winning at the highest level. That's just not the case. But last but not least, let's talk about Bleacher Report's garbage article about the worst signings in free agency. And there's actually multiple bad takes in this article, and I'm probably gonna make a second channel video on it, but their number one worst move of the offseason was DeMar DeRozan. I'm going to read off their reasoning. Look past DeRozan's per game production and you'll see a 32-year-old who's a poor fit with his new club and limited in worrisome ways for someone aging past his prime. He has never been a great defender, and that deficiency will not get better with time or while playing alongside similar sieves in Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic. DeRozan's growth as a playmaker will not be easily utilized in Chicago, as LaVine, Vucevic, and Lonzo Ball all need significant touches. Moving DeRozan off of the ball only highlights his limited shooting range and shrinks the floor. Those are just the issues of fit. The costs are what makes this one of the worst of the worst. The costs, man, I'm butchering reading this. I used to be the guy who was really good at reading in class, and now I guess I'm fucking brain dead. The costs are what make this the worst of the worst. The Bulls should be better next season, but better in a maybe competing for the 6th or 7th seed in the East. That's probably why DeRozan did not give any type of discount, instead collecting an average salary north of $28 million, and then the money isn't the only cost, since Chicago also parted with Thaddeus Young, Al-Farouq Amino, a future first-round pick, and 2 second-round picks in the sign-and-trade. Yikes! You could argue that Thaddeus Young, who will cost just $14.2 million next season, contributes more to winning than DeRozan. It is at the very least debatable, which just further shows how poorly Chicago mismanaged the summer's worst signing. Yikes indeed. I mean, why bother paying DeMar DeRozan under max salary to play like a top 10 player in the league and at the very least an all-NBA performer, when instead you could pay Thaddeus Young $14 million to be a pretty good role player, who apparently, you could argue contributes more to winning than DeMar DeRozan. Look, I'm not going to act like I was crazy about DeMar DeRozan before this season. I certainly was lower on him than I am now, and probably lower than I should have been. But thinking that Young contributes more to winning than DeMar DeRozan was fucking hilarious, and it was at the time. DeMar DeRozan was the best player on the Spurs, who I believe had a better record than the Bulls last year when Thaddeus Young was the second best player for only a portion of the year. This is coming from someone who is a Thaddeus Young stan. I think Thaddeus Young was phenomenal for the Bulls last year, and it was like the best year of his career, which was insane because he's like 34. But no, that was stupid to say. Also, that first round pick, really no biggie. Al-Farouq Amino, definitely no biggie, and Thaddeus Young being exchanged for DeMar DeRozan is absolutely worth it without a shadow of a doubt. And then as for the fit thing, that was another thing that really perplexed me about DeRozan in Chicago. 4 elite three-point shooters on the floor at the same time with DeMar DeRozan, or at least 3. About as good as it gets with DeMar. Like, DeMar needs spacing because he can't shoot, and the Bulls have a stretch 5, 2 of the best shooting guards in the league, and that's perfect next to DeMar. So I don't know why people acted like that was going to be a problem. DeMar DeRozan is currently averaging 27 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists on 60% true shooting and having a career year. So Zach Buckley from Bleacher Report, you can suck it. Shout out to Rudy for editing this video, but that is the end of this video. Be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.